If you want to format your text boxes so it contains more than just text, in other words, you want a background color to offset the text, but you don't want to change the color of the slide or whatever the background you have for it currently, like this gradient from black to blue, but you want to make this pop with the box that it's in, go ahead and click in the text so you can see the outline of the box, the text box that is. Then you can come up here to its related contextual format tab, click on it, and let's go to the Shape Styles group. You get some options here, the least of which is some styles that have been built in or pre-formatted with different effects and colors. Click on the More button and then hover over one of these until you find one. When you hover over it, you can see it gives you a preview down below, but also the name of the effect, Moderate Effect Pink Accent 2. So if you like that and you're making a recommendation to somebody, you can email them that name right there. Then they would come in here and they'd hover over these until they found something pink that's accent 2 and it's moderate. So you can go ahead and click on it to apply it. Now if you don't like it, you can undo it. But if I save it and I close out, that session's over and I no longer have the option to undo it. If that's the case and you want to go back to the way it was, it's a bit tricky, but as far as the fill box goes, it's not. Let me show you. With the box selected or the cursor flashing in it, you can come up here to the Shape Styles group and go to Shape Fill and then go down to No Fill. We don't want anything filled in it. Now notice that the text has been changed. It used to be kind of a blue text. Right now I'm just showing you how to get it back to an invisible box with an invisible border. So in any case, when you click off, you can see, it's kind of a cool little neon light border around it, pink. Go ahead and click in it again. Up here on the Format tab, the Shape Styles will change the outline from the current outline to no outline. And then click off and, like I said, we don't see the box, but our style that was applied to Video Training Pro has been changed. Because again, let me go ahead and hit undo. That's what it was before. Let me click in it. When you come up here and use the Shape Styles, it also has the style for the font, the text within it. So if you don't want to do that, but you just want to play with the actual box itself as far as formatting goes and not the text, then with it selected or the cursor flashing in the text box, you can come up here and do some shape fills. You can select a color. You can see the preview down below. If you don't like that, you got more options like some gradient. It doesn't work there. I don't like those gradients. That's okay. Or you can do more gradients, and this is where you can really go nuts, because over to the right hand side it brings up the task pane, and in this case it's for formatting a shape. You can have shape options or text options. Right now we're just focusing on the shapes, so we won't go over to the text options like I just did. Let's go back to shapes. So for the shapes, you can have no fill. We got that. How about if we have a solid fill? Well, you can do that not only down here, but also up here, a solid fill. Or you can do the gradient fill, and you get more options here. Now notice how it starts from white and it goes over into green. So if I click and drag this stop, I can say, don't go so far over to the right before it starts changing to green. Make that transition a lot sooner by moving these stops. And if I don't like the stop and I don't want that many transitions, I can select it and delete it. And then I can click and drag this over and say, you know what? Instead of going from white to green, and then from this green over to that green, how about if I go from white to, with that stop selected, change the color to red. Okay, we're really making some contrast here. So you can see up at the top, it goes from white to red, and then it goes over to green. So if you really want to make the transition complete and not have it end up in green, then you can select that and remove that. But if you're like, uh-oh, I want to go ahead and add a third color to it, then go ahead and click on the Add Gradient Stop, and then go ahead and move these around. And you can see by playing with it how it takes longer for it to get to a lighter shade of red versus completely a darker shade of red. And you can change the colors as I just went over there. You can also play with transparency, so the red is not so solid, but clicking and dragging the transparency, oh, I just found something I like. It happens sometimes. When I click off, that just looks cool. So you can go ahead and make changes here. Let's go back to our text box so we can get our task pane up. You get a lot of options here, a lot more details you can work with over here in the task pane that may not be found or available up here as the more popular commands for you to use. So if you're done with this, you can close out, and if you need it back again, if it's really detailed, it'll bring it up. In fact, you can right-click on the border of it and go to Format Shape, and it brings up the task pane. Or you can click on the expandable dialog box. So when there's more commands here than what's available, let me close out, you can click on that and it brings up the same task pane. Additional options that you have for your text box, besides no fill, a solid fill, gradient fill, you can do a picture. Select that. That's a horrifying picture. You can come over here and change it from texture to a different texture, or click off, or actually select a picture from your computer by clicking on the File button. Let's do a sample picture. Chrysanthemum. Double click. Okay, that's not working for me. Let's go ahead and hit undo, and hit undo again. You can do patterns, slide background fill, some things here that you may find helpful when it comes to tweaking your text boxes. Some other options that you get besides filling it up, you can also change the effects. Let's see what effects are available. In fact, not only is it available there, but you also get it up here. You can have glows, shadows, reflections just for the text box. I'm not going to cover all that, but it's there. Or you can come over here and just expand these and get a little bit more detailed when it comes to choosing like a preset for your shadow. Let's do a shadow there. Of course, you're probably not going to see it because it's already against a black background. You can play with the shadow's transparency, make it really dark or faded, the size of it. You can have a glow. Let me scroll down. Let's do a color for the glow, something purple. Ooh, I kind of destroyed that, didn't I? Nonetheless, you can do it if it works for you and you're more of an artiste than I am. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and hit undo. For me, when it comes to simplicity, I just like using what's up here on the ribbon. But if I get more detailed, this will open up and give you a lot more to work with, a lot more tweaking than just a simple glow. Like when you come here, you just get some simple ones to choose from. But then if you want more options, it's going to open it up over here, or you get some more glow colors that you can choose from there. Let me go ahead and click off. Now what about the text options? Let's kind of clean this up just a bit. We have the shape options, and you also got the shape size and properties if you want to change the size of it and the position, which we'll go over later, but for right now, to keep it simple, just click inside of it and hover over the resizing handles to click and drag as we covered. Let's go to text options. So when you click and drag to select your text and you want to change and say you want something else besides the solid fill you're looking at now, you can click on the color and choose. That's hurting my eyes. Let's go ahead and change that, click and drag, and then go back to our text options because it updated. In fact, we can hit undo, or we can change this back to something that was kind of close to what I had. In any case, I'll hit undo. I don't want to make this training video annoying. You can change the transparency. A lot of the options that you have for your shapes as far as colors and effects, gradients, or even a picture, you can have a picture added to the text. You got it all available here. And then finally, let me go ahead and close out of here. If you're adding a bunch of text boxes to your presentation and you want them all to have the same background color, like you did all this work to make this cool looking background for the text box here. So when you come up here on the Insert tab and go to the text group to add another text box that you click and drag to create it, it actually has that applied to it. It's not going to do it here because this is from an earlier version of PowerPoint. So in other words, when I right click on it, it should give me the option to set this as the default shape when I add text boxes. But I don't see set the default shape here. So let me come up here and find that text box. It's hiding. If I click off, I can't see it until I happen just to hover over that area that you can't see the text box. You see my four-way arrow. When it finds it, it appears, and then you can click on it. So if I make some simple changes here to keep it short and sweet, because now we know how to do our formatting and do a red background with the shape outline of something green, maybe a shape effect that's going to have something glowing, warm, glow, like that. I'm like, okay, that's what I want. Every time I add a new text box, go ahead and right click on it, and you get to set it as the default text box. So when you select that, and then you come up here to Insert, to your text group, to text box, click and drag. Hey, every time you do that, you get the same formatting, the color, the style that applies to the next text box. And if you don't like that and you want to reset it, well, guess what? We got to go ahead and make sure it's selected, come back and do no fill. Well, as far as no effects, if we just get rid of the outline, it pretty much gets rid of everything. So then we can right click on that and say set as the default text box, and we're back to where we started.